It's older than Paris, bigger than the Vatican, and for a long time no one knew where it was. Angkor isn't just one temple. It's a forgotten empire, a sacred capital. Once home to one of the most powerful civilizations in Southeast Asia, this site went from royal capital to hidden ruin, swallowed by the jungle and nearly lost to time. In this video, we'll explore the massive scale of Angkor's architecture, the spiritual beliefs carved into stone, and the complex path that led this place to be recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. What made it so important? Why did it disappear? And what does it take to protect a place visited by millions every year? Angkor is located in northwestern Cambodia, just outside the city of Siem Reap, which functions as the main access point for visitors from around the world. The archaeological park itself stretches across more than 400 square kilometers, encompassing dense forests, reservoirs, and hundreds of ancient structures, far more than just the well-known Angkor Wat. Its location wasn't random. The Khmer Empire chose this region for strategic and environmental reasons. The land is relatively flat, fertile, and surrounded by rivers and lakes, including the Tonle Sap, Southeast Asia's largest freshwater lake. These natural features made large-scale agriculture possible and supported a massive population. Water wasn't just abundant, it was engineered. The Khmer built an intricate network of canals, moats, and reservoirs, shaping both the urban layout and the regional ecosystem. The positioning of temples and cities also followed astronomical and symbolic alignments. Many structures face cardinal directions and align with celestial events. This integration of geography, religion, and infrastructure reveals how deeply space and environment were tied to Khmer worldview and governance. The names like Angkor Wat, City Temple, or Angkor Thom, Great City, are derived from Sanskrit and Khmer, reflecting the religious and royal function of these spaces. While Angkor is often associated only with temples, the geography tells a broader story. One of an urban system deeply integrated with its environment, shaped by the cycles of water, the movement of the sun, and the needs of an empire. Angkor didn't begin as a single temple. It began as an idea, the vision of a king who declared himself ruler of the universe. That king was Jayavarman II, who, in 802 CE, laid the spiritual and political foundation for what would become the Khmer Empire. But the city we now associate with Angkor, with its massive temples, moats, and carved towers, took shape under two rulers in particular. First came Suryavarman II, who ordered the construction of Angkor Wat in the early 12th century. Then, decades later, Jayavarman VII expanded the city dramatically, building Angkor Thom, the Bayon, and countless other monuments. These weren't just religious sites. They were political messages carved in stone, symbols of divine kingship and imperial order. Building them required a society organized on an enormous scale. Inscriptions suggest a system of corvée labor, where communities were required to contribute workers. These included artisans, masons, woodworkers, and transporters. Entire villages were tied to the service of a single temple, not just during construction, but long after, maintaining rituals and daily upkeep. The materials were chosen with care. Laterite formed the foundations, sandstone covered the surface. The sandstone was quarried from Mount Kulin, over 40 kilometers away. Moving it was a feat of engineering, using a vast network of canals and rivers. Monumental buildings like Angkor Wat took decades to complete. It's estimated that it took around 30 years, involving tens of thousands of workers. Temples weren't just temples. They were models of Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain in Hindu and Buddhist belief. The city itself was mapped according to sacred geometry. Politics, religion, and cosmology were inseparable. The king wasn't just ruler, he was a divine mediator. At its height, Angkor was home to hundreds of thousands of people. Farmers lived near canals, artisans worked near temples, monks performed rituals, and merchants moved goods along a busy trade network. While almost all homes were built from wood and have disappeared, inscriptions and carvings give us glimpses of daily life. The economy ran on rice agriculture, powered by a sophisticated system of reservoirs and canals. Water was managed on a massive scale, allowing for multiple harvests a year. Angkor also traded with neighboring regions, including India and China, exchanging goods like ceramics, textiles, bronze, and spices. Religious life was constant. There were daily offerings, fire rituals, temple dances, and annual festivals tied to lunar cycles. Both Hinduism and Buddhism coexisted, and later merged in practice. Temples shifted functions over time, reflecting the spiritual needs of different reigns. We don't have books from Angkor, but we do have stone inscriptions in Sanskrit and Old Khmer. They record donations, temple expenses, and royal decrees. We also have one rare outsider account, a 13th century Chinese diplomat named Zhou Daguan, who described life in Angkor in vivid, sometimes surprising detail. But Angkor wasn't invincible. Starting in the 14th century, things began to unravel. Climate instability, long droughts followed by floods, likely weakened the water system. The empire had become heavily reliant on hydraulic control. When that failed, agriculture and infrastructure collapsed. There were also external invasions, especially from the Ayutthaya Kingdom in present-day Thailand. These attacks, combined with growing internal instability, pushed the center of power southward. Angkor wasn't destroyed in a single event. It faded over time. The capital moved to the region of Phnom Penh. And while temples like Angkor Wat remained active as Buddhist sanctuaries, most of the city fell into disrepair and was slowly reclaimed by the forest. For centuries, local communities and monks continued to care for parts of Angkor. But it wasn't until the 19th century that it entered the imagination of the West. In the 1860s, Henri Mouhot, a French explorer, published detailed accounts of the ruins. He described them as more impressive than anything left by Greece or Rome. His writings, full of awe and speculation, helped spark international interest, even though they ignored the fact that Cambodians had never forgotten Angkor. Early European explorers misunderstood much of what they saw. Some even believed it had been built by a lost civilization from the West. This romantic myth persisted for decades, feeding the idea of Angkor as a mysterious lost city rather than a known and sacred site. Real archaeological work began in the early 20th century, led by French scholars from the École Française d'Extrême-Orient. They surveyed, mapped, and began cleaning and restoring temples, though their work was interrupted by wars and political upheaval. Modern archaeology has gone far beyond surface ruins. In the 2010s, researchers used Lidar scanning to map the ground beneath the jungle. What they found was astonishing. Roads, neighborhoods, reservoirs, canals, the remains of a vast, interconnected urban network. Today, technology continues to uncover new inscriptions, unexplored temple sites, and patterns of city planning that were invisible to the naked eye. Yet many questions remain. We still don't know how many people lived in Angkor. We still debate the exact causes of its decline, and many structures and texts remain only partially understood. Angkor was built to make you feel something. At its height, it wasn't just a spiritual center. It was the capital of one of the most complex cities of the pre-modern world. The city was designed around ideas of balance and divine order, with sacred, administrative, and residential zones carefully planned. But Angkor's most vital infrastructure wasn't made of stone. It was water. A massive hydraulic system, canals, moats, and vast reservoirs controlled flooding, supported agriculture, and symbolized spiritual purity. The East and West Beret weren't just practical. They redefined the landscape and helped sustain the city's population. The Khmer architectural style is defined by its scale and precision. Elevated platforms, axial galleries, and central towers known as prasats repeat throughout the site. Many temples follow a concentric pattern, a kind of symbolic layering, where you move from the outer world into the sacred heart. Later Buddhist temples, like Bayon, are more complex and introspective, their layouts less rigid, their symbolism more human. But Angkor isn't just stone and symmetry. It's filled with art, carvings that run for hundreds of meters. They tell stories of war, ceremony, mythology, and daily life. One of the most famous scenes is the churning of the ocean of milk, a Hindu myth where gods and demons stir the ocean to extract the nectar of immortality. Elsewhere, carvings show battles, markets, harvests, dancers, musicians, all carved with stunning detail. These images weren't just decoration, they were communication, stories passed down through stone. Alongside them are lions, nagas, and garudas, guardians and mythic figures meant to protect or symbolize cosmic forces. Every image had a purpose, every wall a message. Some temples became famous for their structure, others for their atmosphere. Angkor Wat is vast, symmetrical, and impossibly precise. It was built as a cosmic diagram, a map of the universe carved in stone. Bayon, in contrast, feels more human. It rises in layers, with over 200 massive stone faces gazing in all directions. No one knows for sure who they represent. A bodhisattva? The king himself? Either way, their quiet expression still watches over Angkor's heart. Then there's Ta Prohm, a temple left partially reclaimed by the forest. Roots twist through its walls, trees grow straight out of stone. It's haunting and beautiful, not because of what was added, but because of what was left. Further from the center, Banteay Srey offers something different. It's smaller, more delicate, carved in pink sandstone. The detail is astonishing. Every inch is covered in fine narrative reliefs. Some call it the Temple of Women, not because women built it, but because its beauty is softer, more refined. Together, these temples reflect centuries of cultural and religious change. But Angkor also stands out when compared to other ancient cities. It wasn't a fortress like Machu Picchu. It wasn't carved from cliffs like Petra. Angkor was a living diagram of the universe, a ceremonial city shaped by belief more than by need. Its temples weren't built for protection or trade. They were built to explain the cosmos. Khmer reliefs, in their detail and storytelling, differ from Roman or Greek traditions. Their planning is less rigid than Chinese imperial cities, and their spiritual intention is woven into every brick. Angkor isn't frozen in time. It's not a relic behind glass or a silent ruin. It's still alive, spiritually, culturally, and socially. The story begins with belief. The temples were first built for Hindu gods, especially Vishnu and Shiva. Their names and symbols are carved deep into the stones. But as centuries passed and rulers changed, so did the spiritual life of the city. This shift is visible everywhere. At Angkor Wat, originally dedicated to Vishnu, visitors now light incense for the Buddha. At Bayon, over 200 stone faces seem to watch over the city with quiet compassion, blending spiritual devotion with royal authority. For many Cambodians, walking through these temples isn't tourism, it's tradition, it's continuity. Still, Angkor is a cultural anchor. The famous Apsara dance, with its graceful hand gestures and silk costumes, is directly inspired by carvings found on temple walls. What once was frozen in stone now lives on stage. These performances are not just entertainment, they're cultural preservation. The world first fell in love with Angkor because of an image: roots wrapped around stone, silence overtaken by jungle. That image went global with Tomb Raider, filmed at Top Rome, and since then, Angkor has appeared in video games, documentaries, and travel shows. That kind of exposure brings attention and money, but it also brings distortion. Some visitors arrive expecting a lost city. Others miss the fact that Angkor was never truly lost. Cambodians never stopped visiting it, honoring it, or living in its shadow. For better or worse, pop culture made Angkor famous, and with that fame came both opportunity and risk. But ask any Cambodian, and they'll tell you, Angkor isn't just a monument, it's a symbol. You see it on the national flag, in textbooks, on currency, in school murals. It stands for pride, survival, identity. After decades of war and hardship, Angkor became a reminder of who the Khmer people were, and still are. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also check our playlist for more incredible World Heritage sites. Angkor is an entire landscape of stone, spirit, and memory. Each site tells a different story. Some rise boldly into the sky. Others hide beneath the roots of ancient trees. But together, they form the heart of the Khmer Empire, religious, political, and symbolic. At the center of it all is Angkor Wat. Unlike most Hindu temples that face east, Angkor Wat faces west, a direction associated with the setting sun and perhaps the afterlife. Along its inner walls, over 800 meters of bas-reliefs depict great epics, scenes from the Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Khmer history. Despite wars and centuries of overgrowth, the temple was never abandoned. It shifted from Hinduism to Buddhism and has remained a spiritual site ever since. Nearby stands Bayon, the state temple of Jayavarman VII, nestled in the heart of Angkor Thom. Here, over 200 stone faces gaze down from 54 towers, their expressions calm and watching. The layout is chaotic at first. Galleries twist, doorways rise unexpectedly. But there's a quiet logic to it. Unlike Angkor Wat's cosmic order, Bayon feels human, intimate. Its carvings don't just tell sacred stories. They show markets, battles, ceremonies, the daily life of a living empire. Then there's Top Rome, a temple left partially reclaimed by the jungle. It once functioned as a Buddhist monastery and university. Today, it feels like a dream, or maybe a memory. Giant roots wrap around walls. Further out, Bante Sre offers something entirely different. It's smaller, more delicate, carved in pink sandstone that catches the light. Built in the 10th century and dedicated to Shiva, its surfaces are covered in floral patterns, mythological scenes, and graceful guardians. It's a favorite among scholars and photographers for its craftsmanship and charm. Preah Khan, also built by Jayavarman VII, served many purposes: a temple, a school, an administrative center. It's spacious, designed with long corridors and satellite shrines. Like many temples from this period, it blends Hindu and Buddhist elements. And unlike the more famous sites, it's often quiet, a space where you can feel the scale of the empire without the distraction of crowds. Another unique site is Neak Pean, a small sanctuary on an artificial island. Surrounded by 4 connected pools, it was meant for healing, not worship. The pools represent the elements: earth, water, fire, and wind. And the temple at the center echoes a sacred lake from Himalayan mythology. Scattered throughout the region are other temples, each with their own identity. Phnom Bakheng, perched on a hill, offers views of Angkor Wat at sunset. Pre-Rup, built from red stone, may have been used for cremation rituals. Sites like Ta Som, East Mabom, and Bakong show how temple architecture evolved with time, from spiritual symbols to political statements. Most temples are accessible, though a few areas may be restricted for restoration or conservation. While there's no fixed limit on daily visitors, some spots, like upper levels of Angkor Wat, are controlled to reduce wear and protect the structures. If you're looking to go beyond the usual routes, Beng Melia is a good choice. Located about 40 kilometers from the main site, it offers a wild, untouched atmosphere, like Ta Prohm before the pathways were cleared. Khmer, once a capital of the empire, features pyramid-shaped towers unlike anything else in Angkor. Nearby, Phnom Kulen National Park offers waterfalls, forest trails, and ancient carvings along riverbeds. Wildlife sightings are common: monkeys, birds, lizards, blending the sacred with the wild. In the end, visiting Angkor is more than checking off landmarks. It's choosing your own rhythm, exploring at your own pace. Angkor didn't always have the protection it has today. For years, it stood vulnerable, worn by time, weather, and conflict. That began to change in 1992, when Cambodia officially nominated Angkor for recognition as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It came at a delicate moment. The country was emerging from decades of turmoil, trying to rebuild after the fall of the Khmer Rouge. International support was not just welcome, it was necessary. UNESCO responded quickly, and Angkor was inscribed that same year. But it wasn't a simple celebration. Angkor was also placed on the list of World Heritage in danger. Looting was rampant. Tourism was growing with no clear regulation. Conservation expertise was limited, and political instability made everything more fragile. Recognition brought attention, but it also came with urgency. Angkor was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List under 4 cultural criteria. Each one highlights a different aspect of its universal value. Criterion number 1: represent a masterpiece of human creative genius. Angkor Wat and other temples demonstrate extraordinary artistic and architectural innovation. The scale, symmetry, and precision in design remain unmatched among ancient civilizations. Criterion number 2: exhibit an important interchange of human values. Angkor reflects centuries of cultural exchange, especially between Indian religious traditions and Southeast Asian artistic practices. The fusion of Hindu and Buddhist elements across different periods is key to its uniqueness. Criterion number 3: bear a unique or exceptional testimony to a cultural tradition or civilization. The site preserves the memory and material legacy of the Khmer Empire, one of the most powerful and influential civilizations in Southeast Asia, through its monuments, inscriptions, and urban planning. Criterion number 4: be an outstanding example of a type of building or landscape illustrating a significant stage in human history. Angkor's integration of symbolic architecture with a complex hydraulic system shows how spiritual belief, political authority, and engineering were intertwined to support a massive population and ritual life. That status marked a turning point. It brought funding, partnerships, and structure. Cambodia created the Apsara Authority, now the main agency managing the site. International teams from France, Japan, Germany, China, and beyond joined conservation projects. Groups like UNESCO, ICOMOS, and the World Monuments Fund helped restore key sites like Bayon, Ta Prohm, and Phnom Bakeng. With that came careful planning, mapping, training local specialists, setting visitor guidelines, and building support systems. As tourism surged, so did Cambodia's economy. Angkor became central to Siem Reap's transformation into a tourism hub, fueling jobs in guiding, hospitality, restoration, and the arts. We've explored temples, myths, architecture, history, and the enormous effort it takes to preserve Angkor for future generations. But this isn't just about the past. It's about what this place still means to people today. Now we want to hear from you. Have you ever walked through the gates of Angkor Wat at sunrise? Or is this a place still on your travel list? What part of Angkor's story fascinated you the most? The hidden temples, the engineering, the symbolism carved in stone? Leave a comment below and share your impressions. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to see more content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching and for caring about stories that still echo through stone.